Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. When troublesome times appear, it can sometimes feel that God has abandoned us. Now, yes, the Christian knows that this isn't true, but in times of distress, it can sometimes feel true. And the devil may even tempt us into thinking it is true in order for us to forsake God. For David, there were many troublesome times in his own life, some caused by him and his sin, while some caused by others. And yet through it all, David kept the faith. He pledged to God in prayer as David was a man of prayer. What did David desire in those prayers? Let's find out. So if you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Psalm 6. We're going to be reading from verses 1 to 10. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So Psalm 6, beginning at verse 1. To the chief musician with stringed instruments, on an 8-stringed harp, a psalm of David. O Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger, nor chasten me in your hot displeasure. Have mercy on me, O Lord, for I am weak. O Lord, heal me, for my bones are troubled. My soul also is greatly troubled. But you, O Lord, how long? Return, O Lord, deliver me. O save me for your mercy's sake. For in death there is no remembrance of you. In the grave, who will give you thanks? I am weary with my groaning. All night I make my bed swim. I drench my couch with my tears. My eye wastes away because of grief. It grows old because of all my enemies. Depart from me, all you workers of iniquity. For the Lord has heard the voice of my weeping. The Lord has heard my supplication. The Lord will receive my prayer. Let all my enemies be ashamed and greatly troubled. Let them turn back and be ashamed suddenly. The superscript to Psalm 6 tells us that this is a psalm of David, that it was meant to be sung at the temple worship, and the chief musician was instructed that it be sung accompanied by stringed instruments, specifically an 8-stringed harp. We have discussed in previous lessons that these psalms were sung in worship to God, and in the Old Testament, musical instrument accompaniment was authorized. However, the New Testament is silent on musical instruments in worship, so such is not authorized today. The sentiments of this psalm, though, certainly could be sung. The psalm begins by recognizing that he had sinned in some way and therefore was deserving of rebuke and chastening. What specific sin, we're not sure, but there are multiple instances that we studied in the life of David where this could apply, whether it's David and Bathsheba, David lying multiple times, David numbering the people. It doesn't matter. What matters is that David recognized his sin and was admitting such to God. He recognized that the Lord was within his right to rebuke and chasten him. But notice what the plea is. Do not rebuke me in anger, meaning David wanted God to rebuke him in love with the desire for restoration. David didn't want to be chastened in God's hot displeasure, which he knew would bring him to nothing. Rather, let me be chastened with your rod of mercy, for he was weak physically and his bones troubled. Even his soul is greatly troubled. David is a man that we learned was after God's own heart. No, he was not as holy as God. And yes, he did sin. But David was a man who desired to be righteous, correct his sins when he committed them, accept his punishment without complaint, and completely trust in God for deliverance. David didn't argue with God over punishment. He knew he had earned it. Instead, he pled for God's mercy, that his punishment be able to be borne by him. Did he demand this? No, but he requested it and laid his petitions at the seat of God's throne. That should be our attitude when we approach God in prayer, confessing some specific sin we have. Be humble, be repentant, but be accepting of any consequences we may need to bear, knowing that God is able to see us through. David then asks, You, O Lord, how long? Now what David means here is up for debate. He could mean, how long will you look on? How long will you be angry? Or again, how long will I cry and you will not hear? Whatever the case, the cry of David is that one who wearied out with long suffering. He desired that the Lord deliver him and save him for God's mercy's sake. For if God killed David, David could no longer worship him in righteousness or give him thanks. Now in this, David isn't saying that God needs those things, but it is the things that David desired to do, which he could not do after death. Nor is David saying anything about his hope of a future resurrection after death, for we know David believed in such. Rather, it is a plea for God's mercy and a recognition that should God grant that mercy, he would continue worshiping God in faith and giving thanks to God for his goodness. At that moment, though, David was weary and sorrowful. His enemies had been punishing him, and he sought that the Lord send away all the workers of iniquity. That last phrase is reminiscent of what Jesus said in Matthew 7:23, where on the last day, those who thought they were working righteousness while practicing lawlessness would be told by Jesus to depart from him because of their iniquity. That's what David is asking God to do here. And you know what? David was confident that God would hear him, that the Lord would answer his supplication and receive his prayer and provide relief from his enemies. Why? Because David was a special man? No, because David was a repentant man. He did not know when God would provide relief, but he knew God would. And David could live knowing full well that God was just and would reward the righteous while punishing the wicked. For us, when we sin, let's be humble like David. Let's confess our sins to God and lay our lives down on the mercy of God. Let's never think of grace as a license to sin, but abhor sin as God does. But let's trust in God's grace and mercy, because that is what God has promised to those who walk by faith and trust in Jesus. If you have not obeyed Jesus, we urge you to do so, and if we can help in any way, please leave a comment below. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Psalm 7, verses 1 to 5, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.